And here comes passage number 2. This, by the time I reached the second passage, this looked like my lucky day. You know why? First passage was based on something that used to be my hobby. I was very keen on that. And the second passage belongs to my area of expertise. I've done my master's in psychology apart from a few other things. So the moment I saw deja vu, psychological aspects of it, scientific aspects of it, I was like, oh, that's right in my ballpark. And as a result, I could read it rather easily. So the very first, moreover, you know, I teach English, so I already know what deja vu is very well. So this, very easy. Puzzled philosophers, neurologists, writers, then the emergence of theories about deja vu, and then early in this millennium, a scientist named Alan Brown decided to conduct some proper research, and then some of the findings of his research are there in the next paragraph. After that, we get to know that because of Brown's research, it has been brought to the realm of mainstream science. And then thereafter, his work served as a catalyst for scientists to design experiments. And then here is this one such setup of that experiment. They've not really gone into great details, but at least they've given us a kind of an overview of that setup or that experiment, and then some more details related to that. So let's dive into our questions. Which one of the following statements best describes what the passage is about? So typically what I do is I think of two things. Okay, what is the passage about? The passage is about deja vu. What is the purpose of the passage? The purpose of the passage is to give us information about what deja vu is and what scientific advancements have been brought about by one particular person called Alan Brown, and how his work has gone on to affect the others. So when I look at A says a perfunctory investigation. Perfunctory is superficial. It is a negative word. The passage is definitely, or the author is definitely not negative towards it, so we can rule it out. B, a few common fallacies for experiencing deja vus. There is not a single fallacy that has been talked about in the context of experiencing deja vus. So even if you look at, okay, common misconceptions, if I define fallacies as a common misconception, then there were some people who related it to those paranormal activities. But then that's probably the only thing. Where would we get these a few common then? Moreover, is that all that the passage is about? Where is that bit on the scientific experimentation then? Okay, see, a scientific catalytic work into the mechanism of deja vu. Yeah, that comes quite close to what the passage is about. D, a scientific discourse into the reasons for experiencing deja vu. Now, I am sure this option must have tempted quite a few people when they were writing this exam, but then the truth is, look at this word, discourse. What do you understand by the word discourse? Discourse is to speak or write authoritatively about a particular topic, but the author here is not speaking as an authority. He's just passing information. And therefore, to use the word discourse will be incorrect, and that very easily makes option C the best answer choice for question number 5. Here is question number 6 for you. All of the following statements, if false, could be seen as being in accordance with the passage except. Okay, so false and except get cancelled out. So which one of the following is in accordance with the passage? So let's start with A. Almost everyone has experienced deja vu at some point in their lives. According to the passage, some 2/3 of the people have experienced it. That is 66% of the people. Can 66% be termed almost everyone? Not really. I mean, anything less than 90%, and I'd not be comfortable with using almost everyone. I'd probably not even be that confident about using it even at 91%. So I think it's only when it reaches around what 96, 7, 8% that we can start using this. So let's not say that this is almost everyone. Okay, B, a spatial resemblance can cause people to experience deja vu. True. The phenomenon of deja vu is wholly spatial in nature. No, according to Brown, the most common trigger is spatial. The next most common trigger is conversation. So to say that it is wholly spatial in nature is obviously false. Okay, option D, until the 20th century, most people associated deja vu to be some sort of mental dysfunction. False. They linked it with paranormal activity and not mental dysfunction, and therefore even D is not in accordance with the passage. So B is the only one that is in accordance, and therefore B is going to be your answer to question number 6. Here is question number 7. According to the passage, the Gestalt familiarity hypothesis is so since psychology is my background, I actually know what familiarity in Gestalt basically means. So the law of familiarity in Gestalt says that humans do not perceive elements as individual independent entities. We perceive elements as groups when they collectively form a meaningful scene, or when they collectively form a scene that is personally relevant for us. Imagine you may play chess, you may not play chess. Now if you are somebody who plays chess, then the position of those different pieces on the board, they form those patterns, and some of those patterns are frequently occurring. One glance and you know that this makes sense. For people who do not play chess, that's not personally relevant for them, so that grouping will not make much sense to them. So we say that we develop familiarity when we have a group of objects coming together to form a meaningful or personally relevant object or scene. But that's Gestalt theory. Do you need to have that knowledge in order to answer the question? Not really. Because the last paragraph of the passage mentions this as well. Let me read out the relevant part of the passage. So, according to the Gestalt familiarity hypothesis, if that previous situation with a similar layout to the current one does not come to mind, you might be left only with a strong feeling of familiarity for the current one. So, you've seen that particular arrangement in the past. But if this arrangement does not make you think of, oh, I saw it there at Bob's house or Ramesh's house. If you're not able to recall that, then you would see this and like, oh, it appears that I've been here. When that recall happens, of course, then you'd know that it's not deja vu. You're just comparing two independent entities. So going on the basis of this relevant extract, can it be an analogous relationship between one's memory and one's brain? Analogous relation makes no sense. Brain seizure, that is the mechanism for experiencing deja vu? No. Is a psychological experiment to test hypotheses? No, it's no experiment, no testing. A spatial resemblance between a current scene and an unrecalled scene in one's memory? Absolutely yes. That's the correct interpretation of that relevant part, and therefore the answer for 7th unhesitatingly is going to be option D. And here comes question number 8. Which of the following statements are not unlikely to be supportive? So let's remove not and un. They cancel each other out. So which of the following statements, and just to make it grammatically correct out of that force of habit, is likely to be supportive of the author's opinion? So let's start. The phenomenon of deja vu was scientifically investigated only in the 19th century. False, because it was investigated at the start of this millennium. Therefore, to say that it began in 19th century will be wrong. So this is contradicting the author. B. Brown's work gave an impetus to further investigations into the phenomenon of deja vu. Absolutely yes. This is true on the basis of the last two paragraphs. So if this happens, this supports that information. C. Brown's review of past medical literature on deja vu hinted at physical and mental dysfunctions. Not really. past medical literature essentially linked these with seizures and not physical dysfunction. The seizure can be thought of as a mental dysfunction, but definitely not a physical dysfunction, and therefore this is inconsistent with the passage. This will contradict that seizure part. Deja vu experiences are wholly related to a scene or a place. We have already met this before. This is false. It is related to a scene or a place. It can also be related to a conversation, and therefore even D can be eliminated, and that leaves us with option B as our best answer choice for question number 8, and that takes care of all the questions of passage